everyone, Nasiko here again. This time we're going to do a video on creating a banner for your digital portfolio using Google Sites. So let's get started. So why would we make a banner for your website, right? Yep, Google comes with a whole bunch of canned banners, different themes, but we want to really personalize this. Plus, it's going to give you an opportunity to learn some more skills in Pixlr. So let's get started. So when you open up Pixlr, you're going to see that you open it up and it's by default, it's in history. So we want to click on Create New. And we're going to leave it at full HD. Now, I see that there's an option for web, but I'll tell you why we're going to leave it at full HD. As I was doing some research for Google Sites and making the banner, I knew that it was going to be a specific size. So I found out that Google Sites really needs and wants to have banners that are high resolution. So we're going to leave it at full HD. We're also going to add in the size that Google, the size of the banner specifically for Google Sites. So over on the right-hand side, the first thing you're going to do is type in website banner or something like that. You're going to give this project a name. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to put in the width and the height. So remember, these are pixels. So Google says that you need to have the width of the banner 2,560 pixels wide, right? So type that number in there. And then it also says that you need to have it 1,440 pixels high. So put that number in there too. I'm going to repeat that for you one more time so that if you want to write it down, and then you don't have to come back to this part of the tutorial if you don't remember. So the width, 2,560. The height, 1,440. Okay, so then we're going to click Create. You're going to see that it's going to pop open to a pretty hefty size document for us to create. I'm going to get rid of the advertisement because, well, it's gone. All right, so now we're going to talk about color. Remember, when you were doing your U project, you had to pick one color and stick with it, right? Well, this time you're not going to have to do that. You're just going to pick one color, but we're going to play around with it. But you do not have to use the color that you used in your U project. So you kind of are free to roam around with colors. But the other cautionary item I have for you is let's think back to the design principles. And remember, we're designing, it's a professional portfolio. So we want to look at muted shade tints. We want to look at the darker tones or the darker shades. So you want to keep that in mind. You're not going to have like flaming red because that would hurt people's eyeballs. And that gives a different tone. It communicates a different message than a professional portfolio. So I'm going to click over here on the foreground and I'm going to decide what color I want. Well, I think I'm going to go with this kind of dusty shade of blue. Maybe I want to go this way. Nah, I'm going to go like this. Oh, okay. I'm liking this. I'm liking this a lot. So I'm going to pick this color right here. So notice I picked the color family that I wanted first. And within that color family, then I picked out a shade that I kind of like. So I'm going to say, okay. Now let's take a look over at the layers palette. Notice I already have a layer. It always starts with a blank layer. So I'm going to click on the three dots and I'm going to name this layer something clever like color. Okay, so I have a color layer. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to dump paint into that layer. I'm just going to paint bucket that layer. I've already chosen the color. I've got my layer and I just dumped the color in that layer. So now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go over to the Google and open a new tab. You'll notice that I have a few of them open already. I'll add one more. And I am going to do a quick search for, let's see, you can either do texture or pattern. Let's try pattern and see what comes up. So I have pattern, but the important thing here is I want images. So wow, I can see that I have a lot of different patterns and to choose from, right? So ooh, that's kind of going to make me kind of dizzy, a little trippy and dizzy. I wonder if this one would work. You know what? I'm going to give this one a try because I actually don't know if it's going to work or if there's enough in it. One of the things that you have to really be mindful of, whether you're doing texture or pattern, you can't take anything that has color in it, right? So grayscale, black and white, that's fine, but nothing with color. So I couldn't use money. I can't use this trippy looking pattern right here because it's got way too much color and it's got color at all. So I'm going to do a right click on this. And I honestly, I'm telling you guys the truth, haven't done this one before, so I really don't know. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose copy image. I'm going to pop back over now to Pixlr. And I'm just going to do a paste. So I'm going to just paste that in there. And there is mine. So now I need to make this larger. One thing before I do that, I want you to take a look at the layers panel, and you'll see that that copying just made an entirely new layer for me. So I didn't even have to make that layer. It just made it for me. So now I'm going to go over to the Move tool, top left-hand corner of the Tools palette. And I'm going to see that I have these handles now that I can stretch. One thing I know for sure is I have to stretch it as big as, completely as large as the color. So I have to cover that entire, it's called a canvas. I have to cover that entire canvas. And so now I have two layers. One's an image, one is color. So for what we're going to be doing, because we're going to play with layer modes, I need to move my color layer on top of my image. So I'm just going to grab that and move it to the top. Okay. Let me show you that again. I'm going to grab it, the color layer, and I'm going to drag it to the top. And you can see that it's there because, well, now I see blue. So let's now work with the blending mode. So I'm going to click on the three dots. And you'll see that this opens up that menu. And I am going to click it open and look at all these options that I have, right? And all of these do something different. So when I hit multiply, you can see that layer that's underneath it came through. I can see the pattern that's in there. I don't know, that might be a pretty busy pattern, so I'll just have to play around with it and see and make some adjustments. So I'm going to try another one. What does screen look like? Ooh, you can see it gives it a different look. So remember, what we're doing is we're going for professional. And I don't like that at all. There's one that always turns out really icky. Not that one. But anyway, just go ahead and play with these different, well, that wouldn't work. It's kind of cool looking, but definitely not for a professional website. It's kind of looks pretty awesome, but not for this. So I'm going to go back and I am just going to pick up multiply. I kind of like the way that one looks. So I need to make some adjustments because I think that pattern is going to get in the way of being able to really have a high contrast for the text that I'm going to put on when I get into Google Sites. So I'm going to click on this layer. I'm going to click on these three dots. And what happens when I play with the transparency? So you can see that the pattern is kind of receding in the background and it's just bringing out more of that color. So that's one way to make an adjustment of the pattern. I'm going to leave it like that. And there we go. So now I've just created a banner for my Google site. In the old Google Sites, we would have put our names on it. We would have put some other things on it. But the new Google Sites is a responsive site, which means that it adjusts to whatever device you're using to be on that site. For example, so if it's a phone, it'll automatically adjust the size of the text to fit on a phone screen. So if we were to put text on it now, you wouldn't see the text. It would be distorted. So we're going to leave it like this. And I am going to go to save it. So I'm going to go to File. And I'm going to go to Save. It's already named for me. I'm going to save it as a JPEG because that's what we're going to use. That's the type of file structure we're going to use to upload to Google Sites. And I'm going to click Download. Now, I know that when you go to your Google Drive, that yours saves automatically to your Google Drive. I'm going to pop over to my Google Drive that I did have open at one time. And we're going to take a look at my drive. So if you're like me, you just continually add stuff to your drive and you don't really have any organization. So for example, this is what my drive looks like from all the years. It's not moving, probably because it's taking forever to load. Look at this. It goes on and on and on and on and on. And if I let it go forever and ever and ever, you'd find out I have too many loose files they don't have any homes. So I'm going to click on the file that I know where I have 21st Century. So I'm suggesting to you that you create a folder called 21st Century Communications, and this is where you house all of the projects that you're going to be saving to put on your portfolio. Now, I made 2 folders in here. One's called Portfolio and one's called Projects. You don't need 2, but for sure, make one and call it Projects. And so when you've saved it to your drive, you can just move that image into your drive so that you've got it in one location and you don't have to search for it when we're building your site. There's one more thing for you to do, and that is when you get done saving it, go back over here to the house, and you'll see that it has come up right here. I want you to pin it to this because this pins it to the history. If you don't pin it to the history, it goes away and it's never going to come back. So now I've pinned it to the history, and I can come back to this if I needed to go in and do some more things with it. So that's it. That's how you make your Google banner. Be ready for having it completely done, because on next week we start to build the site, okay? And you can't build it without your banner. So see you later. Peace out, folks.